coach, trainer, entrepreneur. Welcome to Daily Wisdom. We're going through 10, 15 minutes of daily wisdom principles to be able to help you impact your life, your businesses, whatever it is that you want as well too. So we're going through a series on how to achieve a quantum leap in your life. Quantum leap meaning results that are so amazing that it blows your mind. And if you understand these principles, if you understand these laws and you do them, they will work for you because laws are like gravity. It doesn't matter if you believe gravity works or not. If you jump off a cliff, unfortunately, you will not float. You will fall. So if you understand that there's laws of how a quantum leap works in your life and you use them, then they're going to work for you as well too. So hope that sounds like something interesting. If it is, like this, share this, tag someone in this. Also subscribe to our YouTube because we've got everything there as well. You can catch this and all the other ones in the previous chats as well. And we have a Zoom room, which you're more than welcome to join in with us. If you want to be close to the fire, we've got Carol, my wife, Annette, Diane, Julie, Marla, Pam. Good morning to everybody. And let's dive into this. Today, we're going to talk about taking inspired action. Taking inspired action. Now, very specific to that word inspired. Why? It's very obvious that if you want something to be done in your life, if you want your business to grow, if you want your weight to change, if you want your relationship to change, thinking itself by itself will not do anything. So I want to make sure we address that. Because there's some people that just think, if I just hard enough, life is going to change. If you're a person of prayer, if I just pray hard enough, then something's going to happen. If you look through, if you're a person of faith and whatever faith that you're at, if you look, prayer by itself does trigger something, but you have to take action too, right? Like there is an action piece. Some people talk about a law of attraction, and I have other mentors, they say, hey, there's actually another thing called the law of action. Action is important. It is the miracle process. And we have to take action. But at the same note as well, too, only taking action without being inspired action will not lead you to quantum leap results as well, too. The saying is, if you keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to keep on getting what you're getting. So don't also be on the flip side of more of my side. This is how I tend to do things. If I'm the type where if I see a wall, I'm the type that instead of being wise, typically, but especially before I learned these principles, I would just be the type to try to hit the same wall over and over and over and over again. I'm the type of person that says, I will not quit until I die. And that's great to think about. But to be honest, you might just die and not actually win. So not losing is not the same as winning. We want to make sure that we win and not just persist until the very bitter end. I hope that makes sense. Put a 1 in the chat if any of this resonates so far. So I'll make sure we got this done. Okay, cool. So how does this work? Well, we've been going through this principle of the sick person. And Bob Proctor taught me this, but basically you have to understand how your mind works. You have to understand how your life works. You have to understand that if you want results in your life, results are a byproduct of your actions. Yes. So your current actions are taking to your current results, your current income, your current health, your current relationship, your current whatever, any result that you want to track in your life is simply because of a byproduct of previous actions we've taken. Now, actions, where do they come from? Actions come because we've had thoughts, not consciously, but subconsciously. We've had thoughts that we believe to be true, and then we take an action on it. For sake of example, we all have a set point when it comes to our weight. Isn't it interesting? You hover around the same. Right now, during the holidays, we tend to fluctuate a little bit higher. But you know what happens? You step on the scale right before New Year's. You're like, never again. This is not okay. What am I seeing? And guess what? Boom. You get triggered and you start to diet a certain way. You start to do things a certain way. You start to eat a certain way. And guess what? Hopefully, within a month or so, you get back to that set point. Have you noticed that to be true about your weight? It also is the same thing about your money. Have you noticed that we all have a set point of income, but also we have a set point of your savings, your investing, your earnings. Have you noticed that? I used to be broke all the time. Like, no matter how much money I made, I always ended up being just short. Have you ever had too much month at the end of the money? And every single time, it always seemed like I always got to that same place. And I'm like, man, this thing's impossible. Good month, bad month, it didn't matter. So we have to make sure that we understand that when we're seeking transformation in these different areas in life, we have to change the subconscious. So how do you take inspired action? Okay, so we have the concept of thinking about exactly what you want. We talked about seeing it before you see it. We talked about also believing it before you see it, that new goal, that new outcome. Here's now what starts to happen. What is inspired action? Inspiration, literally, if you take the word, is two words: in spirit. In spirit, inspired. When you're inspired, you're in the spirit. Now, spirit for you might mean different things. For me, it means God. And for me, it means that there's a dream that God has for our life, and I am believing that spiritual look at things for our lives instead of what I see things for what life is. We all know that we're our own worst enemy. So as we start to imagine and dream the new dream, and we start to put ourselves into that state more and believe that more than what our current reality is, this is what starts to happen. You start to think differently. You start to feel differently. In fact, I want you to think about your dream right now. And just imagine real quick you having it done. That difference of your lifestyle, that difference of your self-image, your self-esteem, that image of you celebrating with your family a certain way. Whatever it is that you're desiring, question, put a yes in the chat if you feel better. Just better, elevated. You're like, man, that feels good. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm imagining what that dream's like. That beach house, that dream vacation with the family, that dream feeling that you have about yourself being a woman, a grandmother, a man, a husband, whatever that it is, you feel great. Now, when you start to stay into that type of an imagined reality, and you start to let the feelings start to affect you long enough, this literally starts to reprogram the subconscious mind. And this is what happens if you do this correctly. You get a new thought. And all of a sudden, you get ideas. You're like, huh. And it might not make sense, but it's going to be a different idea, a different thought than you've thought before. And it'll be an idea for an action. And what you do in this time frame is what a lot of people don't do. Most people, what they do during this time frame is they reject that new idea. They think that's crazy. Let's say you have a business goal and you have an idea. Right now, for example, one of our goals is to expand our business. And you know what happened as I was lingering upon the dream? I was praying about this. I felt that God told me, hey, you need to write a book. I'm like, what? It's a spiritual book too. I'm like, how does this even make sense? Like, I'm trying to build my business. Why am I supposed to write a spiritual book? I'm not a pastor. I'm not a preacher. I'm not like I'm a business person, you know, I'm a coach trainer. It's like, how does it even make sense? But you know what? Now that I know these laws, I'm like, let me explore this thought here. And long story short, in 10 days, I wrote a book. And now we're launching it. If you've seen the Kickstarter, thanks to everybody that's been supporting that, by the way. And that book, I'm telling you, in the last 2 days, and I'll share more details as we go, that has led to the most incredible business opportunities in the world. Like, I'm talking about, oh my gosh, what? Like, oh, wow. Like, things that you would not even be able to comprehend, quantum leaps. But it was because I had an idea that was inspired and I was obedient to that idea and I started taking action towards that, no, even though it didn't make sense. How does writing a spiritual book have anything to do with business? And it does. How does your inspired idea have anything to do? For some of you, you might have an idea of a name that comes into mind. And you know what happened? You might be like, I need to forgive this person. How does forgiving a person have anything to do with expanding my business? Well, it might have to do a lot with it. Right? You may have an idea of someone to call. You're like, I don't know why I need to call this person. Just call them. You might have an idea, and I've seen in our team, people have had ideas on joining certain groups, networking groups. Like, I need to go there. I was chatting with Marla yesterday, and she was like, I had an idea to join a mastermind. You did it. And wow. as you get these inspired thoughts, what we need to do is take obedient action immediately. Here's the issue. We procrastinate, don't we? We say, I'll do it later. That seems like a lot of work. That seems not reasonable, not realistic. Have you ever felt like you weren't getting the next step in your life for your breakthrough for whatever reason? Put it 2 in the chat. Have you ever felt like, man, why am I feel like I'm kind of stuck in the same place. I kind of feel like I'm just kind of a hamster in the hamster wheel. I'm just running on a treadmill. I'm not getting the next direction. You have to understand, how a quantum leap works. A quantum leap, you only get the next step. God only reveals the next step when you take the first step. You got to take the first step obediently, out of faith, convicted, and just know that when you jump, the parachute will appear. But it does not appear until you jump. There's a difference. You got to see it before you see it. You got to take action before you see it. You got to have faith before you see it. You got to take that step off the edge before you see what's going to happen, knowing that, like the law of gravity, that the parachute will open in due time. But it only opens when you take those first steps. So what's the challenge of today? Even in this conversation, put a 5 in the chat if you've had an inspired thought. Something hit you. Something resonated with you. Some idea started to happen. Awesome. Put that as a #1 priority to take action on immediately, as soon as you can, whether it's right off this call or right after your next meeting. Pencil that in, schedule that in, take action on it now, or else you will eternally be stuck in the same place. Take inspired action. So hopefully this resonated with you. If it did, like this, share this, tag someone in this, subscribe to our YouTube, put all replays on these as well too. Join us Monday through Friday. We go through our daily wisdoms, and you're more than welcome to join in with us as well too. Shout out to our Zoomers. You can come with their Zoom room too. Just ask us for the link. Other than that, happy Eve of Christmas Eve. God bless, and cheers to your quantum leaps. Talk soon, guys.